Good evening. Thank you so much for showing up. It's nice to see all of you. Thank you. It is midweek, so it's kind of a heavy lift for many people to show up. Some of you will be yanking yourself off a mattress at some awful hour tomorrow to go into a classroom or a courtroom or a cubicle. I sympathize with you all. Thank you so much for showing up, and thank you for the wonderful introduction. Sadly, I only have an hour. If I had my way, I'd have you here tied to your seats for about 3 or 4 hours. So I must be brief. I wanted to talk to you tonight about making the world a better place, which is a huge topic, but we can shrink it down and have some fun with it. If anyone seeks to gain knowledge, they also seek to gain some kind of elevation. With college, with travel, with whatever wisdom that you can acquire from wherever and however you get it, you get a certain different point of view than someone who perhaps does not pursue. So with this elevation, you now have a choice. What you can do with what you know. With this elevation, you can hold it over people, you can use it for financial gain, or you can use it to have the world be everything that you see. Someone who doesn't look very far, their world is this big, their world is their town. I'm not putting them down. The world is their area code. The world is their family. I completely understand that, but that's limited. What if the world was your world? What if you spent enough time out in it that the world was the size of your world? Not your neighborhood, not your county, but the entire world. What if you could appreciate life from other perspectives in other parts of the world with other cultures? Don't you think that would make you a better agent for change and benevolent goodness going forward? That's kind of an oxymoron. I apologize. Some people take what they know, and I don't like the intellectual type who takes their smarts and seeks to belittle you with it. I've never been impressed. I've always been impressed by those who acquire knowledge by being on the road or reading books or whatever, and they use it to be helpful to others. And I am quite done with the idea of we, and I would really like a moment to explain that. Just don't like me for saying that and let me dig myself out. Let me burn some lean tissue. In America, I don't think we shall overcome. We've had myriad opportunities to overcome. We're not that interested. From 1865 to now, with the death of Abraham Lincoln, the 13th Amendment, the 14th from 1868, my personal favorite, we've had many, many chances to overcome. We're just not that into it. Is because Americans are bad? No. I don't think that Homo sapiens are we types. We're not a we species. We are we every now and then at games, but we're on different sides of the field. When we vote, we're all together, but in different sides of an aisle. And then we get bored and we want to be individuals again and go home. There's marches where we, the people, we do this, but then everyone wants a bathroom break. And so Americans are put under undue pressure living under this moniker, the United States. 50 countries with 50 different cultures, with 50 different sets of values all getting together. The miracle of the United States is there hasn't been a second, third, and fourth civil war as bloody as the first one. And so for those who don't behave, I think we behave pretty well. But going forward, if you really want the world to be a better place, it is up to you, the individual, to choose to do good things. I can't make you. Only you can make you. So I am done with we, and I am just concentrating on you. What you're going to do now and what you're going to do with it in the future. We are going down the drain. We stab a knife in the side of Mother Nature and twist it every chance we get. She gives us cancer. She doesn't mean any harm. She just wants to cull the herd just a little. We fight back. She makes deserts. We go live in them. She makes floodplains. We insist in living there. Do you realize the bubonic plague, Ebola, syphilis, cancer, is Mother Nature very benignly going like, cool it. I know breeding is fun, but you do it a lot. I got so much water. I got so many trees. I got so much breathable air. You're screwing up my equation with medicine, with technological breakthroughs. Thank goodness you're making the wars bigger, so it's kind of evening up just a little bit. So that's we. So I'm only interested in you. And I've come to the conclusion that people are basically ungovernable and they're untamable. And that's why any governmental delivery system, democracy, communism, socialism, whatever ism or assy you want to use, it's rife with problems. Why? The paperwork is fine. It's because there's people involved, and people aren't bad. They just have a ton of ideas all at once. So we shall not overcome. You, on the other hand, can overcome, and you can inspire someone else to overcome. And that's why you want to travel. That's why you want to be part of change and part of something positive going forward. We all can't agree on anything for very long except oversleeping and pizza. But you can do a lot. And late last year, I got an email from a woman. It's why I staggered onto the stage a few minutes ago with a steno pad in my hand. Usually, I keep all my information right here. I don't use any notes, nor do I take a drink of water, and I try not to say or and I rarely stop talking for very long. You'll see. So I got an email at the end of last year from a woman, and I'm not putting her in the pejorative, but I wrote down her email to me, and I put it on my steno pad because I wanted to quote her. In one paragraph, she summed up the state of humanity. She nailed it. And I'm not trying to make fun of her. I'm not putting her in the pejorative at all. I think she got it. And I think she thought she was already in a conversation with me, and this was a second or third email to me. It was the only one I've ever received. I'll read it to you, see what you think. But in one paragraph, she got all of us together. Hi, Henry. I forgot to mention God's spaceships and Jesus' return, and thousands of them during my lifetime, to beam up all those who are ready then. Yes, there is a way out of this hellhole called planet Earth, and it is not so far off anymore. Check out Psalm 68:17. He went, so he will come back again. Merry Christmas. I am on Facebook. Now, in one cranial exhalation and one cerebral this woman was able to take in alien abduction as transport, Jesus, God, a Judeo-Christian holiday, and social networking. Like, do you want to hang out with this woman? I do. I think she'd be amazing. And that just shows you in one paragraph, one fell swoop, how dynamic humans are, where they can take in the spiritual, the cutting edge of technology, the good book, and all of that, and stir it all together, and still walk a tightrope, chew gum, and not fall off. And that's why humans are largely ungovernable. And that is why it's such a pain in the neck to deal with humans, because they are, for better or for worse, individuals. And so if you really want to help, if you really want to go forward, you have to take people as a living, breathing, thinking thing that are connecting dots and agreeing with themselves on basic essential truths. My father, who I haven't seen in at least 175 years, I don't know how old he is, I don't know where he is, I don't even know if he's still with us. If he's still alive, he's probably crouching low in the weeds of Virginia, clutching an AR-15, waiting for a Fox News host to issue him his next directive. And if any of you are Fox News fans, I'm not putting you down. I'm just saying that's where he goes, and he and I have a lot of disagreements on probably everything. And he was a PhD, and also a champion racist, and a magnificent homophobe, and a record-breaking misogynist. And he never traveled. And my mother, on the other hand, to the left of my mother is Bob Dylan in a wall. And so my mother dragged me all over the world as a little kid. You older folks remember when passports were green? I had one of those before they went blue. And so my mother would take me to Turkey, to England, to Greece, to Italy, so I could see the museums and dig other people. I saw a dead body in the street somewhere in Athens. I said, Mom, is that person dead? She said, yes. And I saw a dead person. And so I had registered that as a young person, like, wow, people do die, and that is a dead person. It blew my mind. Like, wow, it's not a movie, it's real. And then I'd see my father, like, where have you been? You know, on the weekend, the 48 Hours of Fear with my father. And I said, I've just been to Istanbul. And he'd look at me like, and I won't say what he was probably thinking. But my mother let me understand that the world is a huge place full of people who are connecting the dots, who will, in my mind, basically skew towards moral decency and kindness and generosity if you put them in an environment with which they can do all of that. If you pressurize them, they will skew towards survival, and they will climb over you to get out of the ditch, and they will favor their kids over you. And so what do you need to do to make the world a better place? You have to put less people under pressure. And so for me to really understand that, I knew I needed to travel. And as a young person, I was in rock and roll. As a 20-year-old, I was going all over America. There's a few states I wouldn't go to, like it took me a while to get to the Dakotas. It took me a while to get to Hawaii and Alaska, but I eventually got to all of them. And in my time, I've probably met more Americans than any president. In fact, any two presidents put together. I'm not saying they're lazy. I'm just saying I'm around a lot of Americans all the time, and a lot of Germans, and a lot of Brits, and a lot of people all over the beautiful continent of Africa, and Central Asia, and Southeast Asia. And I hear a lot of stories. I've been to 7 continents and about 90-some countries. It doesn't make me an expert on anything, but it makes me definitely interested in the human state. And I have found kindness and generosity everywhere I've gone. From here to Johannesburg to Dallas, I have found really amazing people. And so my gospel is, if you want to know, you've got to go. And the book and the documentary will get you partway there. It is an introduction. It is the brochure. But if you want the real deal, you need a passport and you need to go. And I use a fairly unorthodox way of travel. I go to a city, I drop my gear, I get some water, a camera, a protein bar, throw it in my backpack, and I just walk. I just find a street and go. Or I'll say to a cab driver, and they always think I'm a maniac, which is kind of true. I always say, give me $5 that way. Hey, what do you mean, my friend? I don't know, put me that way. It's a pretty rough neighborhood. I'm a pretty rough individual. It'll be fine. And so I go into places and I just basically walk around until people speak to me. And it's usually men in a lot of cultures. The men will talk to you, the women you need to be introduced. And so men will come up, my friend, why are you here? And I love that because it's my perfect international icebreaker. I advise that you use it and see what you get. It's really fun. They say, my friend, why are you here? I say, why am I here? I'm here to meet you. My name's Henry, man. What's happening? And it always gets a laugh. And it always breaks the pressure. I was like, you're here to meet me? Yes, actually I am. I really, really, really am. I left the hotel 3 hours ago and I've been walking this way, and you're the first person to talk to me. So what's happening, man? And I think once that global conversation starts, if more people can have that conversation, person by person, like Johnny Appleseed, just making friendships, it's going to be very hard to convince that local who you just met in Islamabad or in Knoxville. It doesn't matter. Once you make that human, have that human moment, it becomes hard to want to bomb that person. I was a child of the 70s, and so the Iranian hostage crisis was a big deal when I was in high school. I went to a boys' prep school. I wore this ridiculous uniform, black shoes, black socks, gray pants, black belt, white shirt, blue and gold striped tie, blue blazer with a corny insignia on the left breast patch side. And I was the kind of person you'd pull over your car just to beat up because I looked like someone who should be thumped. Some of my fellow students were Iranian. Their fathers were in the Shah's administration, and they had money. And they sent their kids to American schools to avoid, I guess, conscription and to get a Western education. And they became my friends. It was Milad Kurami who got me out of high school because he helped me with math. And he was a math whiz, and I hated math because there's no rock and roll in math. And I would sit with Milad all the time, and he'd say, okay, Henry, here's an equation, solve it. And I would write down, are we not men, we are Devo. He's like, Henry, no. No, if you don't learn, you will never leave. I'm like, I want to leave. If this is a gulag. He says, yes, listen to me, I'll help you. And so I had this real soft spot for Iran. I wanted to learn more about Iran. And I had a president a while ago, as some of you did too. He wasn't great with the English language. He had